Before we start, let me ask you 3 questions. Do you think democracy is the final answer to every country on the earth? Do you actually believe if you remove the dictator, the country will automatically get better? Do you think all countries that don't vote, just losers, waiting to be saved? Many people believe the global politics is like a simple movie. Bad guy dies, people get vote, everyone is happy. But in real world, if you break the system, the thing disappears and just the bad guys. It's also your saving and your safety. Today we are not taking sides. We'll talk about why democracy is not a magic wand. And after watching my video, if you still believe a voting paper can cure everything in the world, I suggest you go to see the doctor.
The map, a child's game.
I had a classmate in college, a very passionate girl from Brazil. Her graduation project was democracy map of the world. The logic was incredibly simple. Blue means democracy and red means dictatorship. She stood next to the map, proudly explaining the project with the most passionate face. Fully believing that turns the whole world blue will fix every problem of this world. Blue is good, red is bad. I didn't say it out loud then, but deep inside of me was like, this is not political science. It's more like a coloring book of the kids. People who think like this believe that the running country is like picking the right color. They think if you change the label like this, poverty and crime will vanish. They stare at the map and ignore the actual problem on the ground. If you paint a broken house in blue, it's still a broken house. The only difference is now the roof leaks as the name of freedom. If you like this video so far, please like and subscribe.
Not a software update.
The coloring book idea comes from a very arrogant idea. People think human history is a straight line. They think you start poor and straight, and you end up with rich and democratic. If your country is a mess now, they think you just haven't upgraded yet. As if a country is a phone, democracy is like an operating system. People believe that democracy is the ultimate software update. They think if you download the Democracy OS and hit the install, the country will become automatically perfect, running so well. They completely ignore the hardware. If a phone battery is dead and screen is shattered, the motherboard is fried, meaning a country has no basic economy and no public safety, and internal society is hatred. Installing what they believe the most advanced system of the world will not fix the phone. Unfortunately, it will just make it worse. The worst part of this software mindset is just making people so lazy. They think copying constitution fixes everything, but the truth is cold. You cannot even download the latest Android system in an old Nokia.
Reality check, the hangover.
Look at Arab Spring in 2011. Remember the news from Egypt? Thousands of young people on their phones, protesting to remove the old ruler. Western reporters love it. They call it victory. It feels so good to see the boss get fired, but the party only lasts one night. The next day is reality. And people find out in a hard way. Destroying a government and running a government is completely 2 different things. You can remove a president, no problem. But what's next? The people who took over were not young protesters. It were religious groups and then military again. Price went up and tourists left. And the country split apart again. It's like burning down your old, ugly house because you want a mansion. The fire is exciting, everyone chills. But when the fire runs out, you find that you don't have money to buy the bricks. So congratulations, now you have absolutely the freedom to freeze to death in the ashes.
There is no undo button.
The idea of democracy fix its own mistake is also very naive. People think the real life works like typing in a computer. If you elect the bad leader, you can just vote them out 4 years later. So simple, isn't it? You hit undo and everything goes back to normal. This is incredibly naive. In politics, damage is permanent. When a country's trust is broken and people learn to hate each other, when your foreign allies stop trusting you, there's no undo button for that. If you know, you know. If you drop a glass on the floor, voting a new leader doesn't put the glass back together. It just gives you the right to choose who's the idiot to step on the glass next.
The US dilemma, wasting time.
Now look at the US, the lead missionary of the democracy. They have one of the oldest voting system, but it doesn't stop them from making massive destructive choices. Look at the climate agreement. they sign it, and 2 years later, the new president comes, they throw it in trashes. And 4 years later, the next president signs it again. Look at TPP trade deal. They spent years to build the economic circle. The next president came in, destroyed it to get vote. Now the allies get confused, and the rivals like China can't stop laughing at it. In this system, plan doesn't last. It's just back and forth. Yes, you can vote out the guy who made the mess, but you can't get back the time you wasted. While you're busy arguing and canceling the deals, China and the rest of the world's moving on. So stop bragging how the system fixed the mistakes. It doesn't. The system doesn't guarantee the good strategy. It just guarantees that every 4 years, the world would guess that if US would join in the chat or deleting the app.
Condition analysis. The car versus the boat.
We need to stop thinking that democracy is an upgrade of autocracy. They are not old and new version of the same thing. They are completely different tools to use in different environment. It's a difference like driving a car and steering a ship. Democracy is like a car, it gives everyone a steering wheel. It works, but only if you have flat paved roads and everyone agrees to stop at the red lights. The advantage is more freely and flexible. The downside is that people don't follow the rules. Everything stops. Autocracy is like ship in a storm sea. The rules are more strict. You don't let every sailor to steer in the ship. Everyone must listen to the captain and do what exactly they told. Why? If everyone can vote and debating in which way to turn, the ship will sink in 2 minutes. The problem of my classmate's map is she assumed that everyone can drive a car and the world is so flat. But many countries are still in the middle of the storm. They're just trying to survive. For them, they don't need the flexibility to vote or argue. They need the unity to not drown. They need the country to not collapse. The West like to stand on the flat road and laugh at the people on the ship. Do not have cars. Oh, you don't have cars? And try the best to sell the cars to people in the sea, as if they can drive the cars in the sea instead of seeing the God.
Conclusion. Throw away the map.
So back to the start. If I look at the democracy map today, I would say, stop looking at the colors. Look at the reality. The world is not just black and white. Democracy is a good tool, but it's just a tool. There's no magic tool can fix every kind of problems. If you want to understand how the world works, please stop being lazy. Start to learn. Know the system will do the thinking for you. And after watching my video, if you still believe a voting paper can cure everything in the world, I suggest you go to see the doctor. I'm Z. See you next time.